Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on Pisa Presents with Pearls, Queen of the Gems. So now, pearls obviously are one of the most famous and prized of all gems. Now, they are not a gemstone per se, but obviously something that forms within a living animal. Now, long recognized for their beauty, the first recorded mention of a pearl is actually in a Chinese text dated 2206 BCE. So they've been around historically for quite a long time. And while the quality varies depending upon host species, almost any mollusk that produces a shell can produce a pearl. This includes abalone, marine snails, clams, mussels, and of course, oysters. Now, how they form is a matter of some familiarity, but there is still one key myth. Now, contrary to popular belief, pearls don't always form upon a grain of sand. Any irritant or even a blow to their body will do for a mollusk. Now, you just need cells to be disrupted in the mantle. That's just the soft tissue that covers the body cavity. And here is a visual enlargement of what is called nacre. That is also known as mother of pearl. So it's calcium carbonate in the form of aragonite with a very specific protein. It effectively makes things both very, very light and yet still strong. That is what covers everything. So, whatever it may be, once an irritant or the site of an injury basically is within a mantle, it's the source of irritation is then closed off in this cyst like pearl sac. And then gradually, this is then subject to these layers of nacre. So, it's kind of, yeah, it's basically a pearl is almost in many ways kind of like a cyst, sort of. Now, these very, very thin layers are what give the pearl its iridescence, but it is still a rarity with 1 in 10,000 wild pearl oysters producing a pearl. And because the iridant is rarely found, well, round, obviously, natural pearls are themselves, I mean, look at these, they're not really perfectly round. So that is why you don't see natural pearls are very, very rarely round themselves. Now, in terms of natural versus cultured pearls, let's look at some of the differences. Now, cultured pearls started to come about in roughly the 13th century. And here, thanks to Johan, thanks, buddy, we have a couple of photos of a pearl factory near Vietnam. So now here are some of the photos which he was kind enough to send to me. And down here are a close-up look at a fellow taking a pearl out of an oyster itself. And here is another close-up. Now, because of the rarity and difficulty that is getting a natural pearl, most pearls today, roughly, the estimates vary, but 99 to 95% or so are cultured or farmed. Now, the process of culturing a pearl is essentially tissue grafting. So, a small piece of mantle and what is known as a shell bead from a sacrificed mollusk of the same species is inserted into the host mollusk's gonad, which is what you see here. And I can't believe I just said host mollusk gonad live on the internet, but you know what? Oh well. Now, so one can also place several small pieces of mantle into the host mantle. I mean, upwards of like 25 pieces, depending on the size of these, basically the mollusk itself. And yes, they've gotten this to where these basically the shell, the organism, they can do this and then remove the pearl with the organism still being live afterwards. So don't worry, this is not just a once and done process here. Now, the key difference is just whether or not you use, say, these shell beads or the mantle fragments as forming the core of the pearl sac. Now, here pearls are being sorted by size and color, which obviously is a very key thing for people. Now, there are four kinds four main kinds I'd like to clarify of cultured pearls today. Akoya pearls can be harvested in about a year, give or take. They're mainly grown in, say, China and Japan, and they're pretty much today's standard for a classic stranded pearl necklace. Basically, because they're often the most rounded one. So when you think of things just visually as a pearl choker, like that pearl necklace, kind of like the Queen Elizabeth, Marge Simpson type of pearl necklace. Those are the type that people think of and that people turn to when they go to. Those are the Akoya ones. Now, they also go to a lot freshwater cultured pearls. Those are made mostly in China and they can have a range of colors and sizes, which also really increases their usability as well. Now, South Sea cultured pearls are often found, they're farmed in Australia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. And you can see these here have a nice gold tint to them. So the colors can range from white to silver to gold. They get a nice range. Now, Tahitian or black pearls are harvested after about 2 to 4 years. They're not necessarily just found in Tahiti. There are black pearls found in other places, like obviously that necklace that was found up there was one of the ones that Johan took a photo of in the facility in Vietnam. But still, black pearls are, again, a very sought after variety. Now, telling apart counterfeit pearls from real ones is both a science and an art, with x rays being handy and also the skill touch of a jeweler used to kind of an uneven and perhaps gritty touch, people say, for the non-cultured pearls. So the ones that you actually kind of get out of, say, an oyster, sort of the old school way, folks say that because of just how they are, they tend to kind of have a sandy feeling allegedly underneath the teeth. But keep in mind that it takes years and years and years of experience to be able to pick up on that. I mean, when I was a kid and I used to watch Agatha Christie adaptations on TV, I was always wondering, like, why is Poirot putting the pearl necklaces between his teeth? And yeah, and then later on I figured out it's like, yeah, it's because allegedly pearl necklaces can feel kind of gritty, and that's why. So, interesting. So now pearls can have a lot of different legends and other things focused around them. They obviously have a very huge connection to the moon and to a lot of other figures historically as well. I mean, this was just a photo that Johan sent off of the facility over in Vietnam. Now, probably some of the undoubtedly, I would say, the major artistic representation of an individual with a pearl would be Johannes Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring on the left. Now, Elizabeth I of England, she was a huge, huge fan of pearls. She absolutely adored them. It's now so back in her time, so that time in England, referring to something or someone as a pearl, because keep in mind just how precious and how rare these pearls were, was a sign of, basically was referring to a person that way, was basically remarking upon their value. Ironically enough, her father, Henry VIII, used to refer to her elder sister, Mary I, as his pearl. That was, of course, before he dumped her and her mother, Catherine of Aragon, and, set off upon the path towards the English Reformation. But that's an entirely different story. Now, Elizabeth later on, according to legend, so the imperial state crown, three of the pearls in there are ones from her that she got in turn from Mary Queen of Scots. That's one of those things that, depending upon who you ask, they swear up and down that it's true. And then others are like, no, that's just an urban legend. But It's like I actually asked people that when I was at the Tower of London and I was asking about the crown jewels, and they said that it was true, but then other people said that it wasn't. So don't exactly take it as the gospel truth. Now, the two pearls in the middle, in case you're wondering what were the two biggest pearls so far that they found in history, these are the two. So just kind of think in your head of a pearl and just think how big the biggest two are. Okay, now, so second runner up is the Pearl of Lao Tzu. Now, these have both been found in the Philippines. Now, this fellow was 9.42 inches in diameter and it weighed 14.2 pounds. Now, compare that to the Pearl of Puerto, which was a whopping, it was a bit uneven in size, as you can see, 2.2 foot by 1 foot by 75 bloody pounds for a single pearl. I mean, oh boy, Elizabeth would have practically sold the entire Armada just to get her hands on that pearl with how much she loved them. So, yes, there have been all different sorts of pearls featured in culture and legend and art. I mean, they are just one of history's most enduring gems for a very, very obvious reason. I mean, humanity loves them just ever, ever so much. And I mean, we will continue to love them very so much. They are indeed the birthstone of June for a very good reason. And so we will continue to celebrate them for many, many a year to come. So, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And I wish you a very happy rest of your week.